Okie dokie. Hello everyone, today I'm going to show you how to create 6 feet transitions, and just to kind of make it look as smooth as possible. These won't be exact, like you are going to have to test things out, like I've had to do like a lot, but I'm going to show you like the main things you should do. I think I will do like the transitions of the edit first, and then we'll go into the position shake, the warp, and stuff like that. So we're going to add the transitions first. Before we start, you're going to need 3 graphs, which would be this graph for your beginning transitions. So copy this graph, it's all the way at the end like this. Then second graph for your end transitions. And then this is for any fake zooms or like fake zoom outs, etc., which you see somewhere here. Here, there's like a fake zoom out here in the middle, as well as here as well. There's a small fake zoom out here. So you're gonna need these 3 graphs. Grab your settings. So you want to start off with this first graph. So like do graph 1, 2 and 3 for 6 feet. And we're just gonna zoom out first. So you can either go to 0.1 or to 0.3. I'd say that's like a pretty good starting point. I'm gonna go a bit after the middle. Like not completely, just like, so let's say the middle's here, go 3 keyframes after the middle. So around here. So it stops there, and then we apply our graph. If it wants to, yeah, there we go. Add a second blur mode curves, click on your second graph. Then we're gonna drag this 5 keyframes or so before the end of the first transition, so we're about here. And then we're going to move the center point next to Anya's head. We're going to zoom in till about 0.3, not too much. Then use this graph to zoom into her face, so we click on our clip, second blur mode, apply. So just see how that looks first. Okay, that looks fine. Now we go to our zoom in and then out. So you want to go to about 0.4. Copy this all the way to the end. Then go not in the middle here, but maybe a bit after the middle. Go to 0.8. Maybe even 0.9. We'll test 0.9 first. But that's quite a low value, so it really depends. Yeah, I might go 0.8 because I don't want to show that much motion tile. So go 0.8, apply your graph on the first beginning transition, then go to the end here, and apply the second graph, which is here. See how that looks. Might move this up a bit like this. Cool. I think I missed this. Whoops, that was my fault. Don't know how I've done this. Okay. Now onto our next clip. This is a zoom out, then it's a fake zoom out, then it's a zoom in at the end. So you need 3 blur mode curves for this. So zoom out on the first clip to about a quarter of the way, which is like here, but you want to go 3 keyframes forward. So I guess in the middle, you want to go in the middle. Graph this with your graph. Add your second blur mode curves. This is where you're going to need this graph here for your fake zoom. So you set the value to 0.8, animate it, drag this about 4 keyframes before the end of the first transition. Go 3 keyframes before the end of, well, 3 or 4 keyframes before the end of your clip. Go to point 1. Click, and then click on your second blur curves and apply the graph. So then it does a fake zoom out. If you want it smoother, I'm just going to do Ctrl-Z undo. If you want it to last longer, you just make the graph less tight like this, which I want to do now that I've rewatched it. Then you add your third blur curves for your final zoom in. So you want to go again 4 keyframes before the end of the transition. Zoom into her head to about 0.3. Then add the end graph, which is this one. And I might loosen this just a bit and tighten this one just a bit. There we go. That's fine. Now we're zooming in and doing a slide. So again, 0.4, but now you also animate X shift here. So drag the X shift 4 keyframes after the beginning of the clip. You want to do your zoom in first, so you have 1.4 to 1.8. Zoom that in to 3 keyframes before the end of the clip. Then you want to get your first graph, apply Z distance, so it zooms in, then it stops here, and then it's going to start sliding towards the right. And there is a warp slide as well. I'm going to add that after we add the slide on this clip. So go to 6:2. Then already selected, go to X shift and apply. Then go to the next clip. Start the slide this way. And then Z distance as well. So Z distance starts 3 keyframes after the clip. This ends 3 keyframes before the clip. Maybe even 2, depends how long you want it to last. So we apply the first graph to X shift, and then we zoom in at the end to Anya's face. It's 0.3 or so. Yeah, that works. We keep I'm going to keep the graph like this for Z distance. Keep doing this. Now I did ask on Discord whether people wanted me to do the entire edit or just the bits I've shown, so I'm going to check the poll in a second. But now we zoom into our last clip, which is just a normal zoom in and out. So zoom in to 1.4 to 1.8. I'm going to drag it after the middle because I don't want it directly in the middle. That's just preference. And then apply graph. Go to the end, get the second graph and apply that. So this is what I've done as the example at the beginning. I'm gonna do this. It's lagging, so I'm just gonna lower the preview. Now if we look closely and do it frame by frame, the movement is very close to the one in the 6 feet edit. But, for example, this clip, mine starts zooming in a bit too early, I think. Or does it? I think... one clip was a bit too short. Just gonna redo this one. I'm gonna re-add the graph, but I'm gonna actually shorten it and then tighten this bit. So we zoom in and then it starts zooming into her face. Yeah, like this. Perfect. Now I'm just gonna check the Discord. It's mainly whole edit. Okay. Someone asked me a question. 1 second. Okay, now we're gonna add the warp slide, which was here. So we're gonna go to S-warp corner pin. I already have a tutorial on this warp slide fairly recently. It shouldn't be too hard to find. So warp corner pin. You can copy the settings here. The coordinates as well. Filter, everything else, just copy it. Could add motion blur, which I didn't realise, but I probably won't because I want to do motion blur with RSMB. So we go to bulge X because it's going horizontally. And we want the warp to begin on the left side of Anya's face, so we're going to go positive X this way. Then we're going to add the graph. So we're going to click on the clip, go down to warp corner pin, and then it automatically goes to bulge X, so we press apply. It starts warping it, and then we're going to go to the next clip and do -500, like this. We're going to go to where we ended our slide, go here, add our graph to bulge X. So that's one part of the warp sorted out. But I think I want the warp to be stronger, so I'm gonna make it bigger. Like this. Might make it a bit longer than the actual slide. Press Shift X. Oh, no. Bulge X. That looks good enough. Now I think we're going to add the warp. So we're going to go to warp bubble. Now you're going to want warp bubble and warp bubble 2. Luckily I already have tutorials on both of the warps I'm going to use because I'm going to use 2. First would be my turbulence 1 or MO, whatever. And I'm actually going to put it behind the blur curves because it makes the value a bit less. If you can see, there's more warp when it's in front of blur curves. So I'm going to put it behind and put it as 500 and put it as fast fade. Normally I would graph it, but because of how slow I want the graph to be, I want it to be fast fade. And I'm going to add this on every single clip now. So all the way to the end. You can even increase the value if you want to, from 700 or something, but I wouldn't really recommend. Gonna put up here. Since the warp is like a big part of the smoothness and position shake, it's best to add this beforehand. There we go. So that was just one warp I wanted to add. Cool. Okay, now I'm gonna add the second blur curves, which would be the turbulence tutorial that I already made. Now we're gonna animate the amplitude. We're gonna lower it to about 100. And then we're also gonna animate the frequency, but we're gonna keep this above the blur curves. So we're gonna go to the end of the clip, go all the way to 0 and do this till about 1.8. So change this to 2 and you just lower it. Actually, 3. Like that. Change it to fast fade. Well, actually, yeah, I'll keep it till about 200. Yeah. But then I'm gonna make a frequency go to 0. That's, yeah, that looks cool. Then we go to the next clip. Make the value 200, lower it to 0. Lower this. So this one is very, like a lot. It shows quite a lot, so I'm gonna animate the frequency. No. There we go. But we're going to keep the amplitude as fast fade. Like this. And we're just going to keep adding the amplitude to 0 and just lowering the frequency until we get something that we like. So again, for this one, I might not animate the frequency because I want it to be warpy. Okay, there we go. Same with this one. There we go. Just 2 more clips to go. Then we can work on position shake. I might just copy from the zoom in and out here. Just makes things easier. Now, I know it looks weird now, but with the position shake it'll make everything better. So right now it's rotation, maybe some X shift and a Y shift. So we'll add that. So we'll go to first blur my curves. But this is -2. But this is like +50 or something because it looks like it's coming from the right. And then a large amount of Y shift. Now I'm gonna make all of them smooth fade. Go to the end, make this a bit of a positive. Go to the end, make this -3 because about 5 or 4 keyframes afterwards I'm going to make this +2. So it's number 1, looks good. Now this one's quite simple, it rotates from the left, so that's this way, not too much, maybe like 12, and it's also a Y shift. So I'm gonna copy, nope, gonna put smooth fade on this and go to the end, make the Y shift go to positive. but we're gonna make the rotation go to like -2, maybe -1, and then we're gonna graph the rotation with the 6 feet graph we chose. So we go to rotate like this. I might lessen the value just a bit. Okay, no. Maybe just make this 0. I think the value is a bit too much. So 9. Okay. Now I'm just going to turn on the music so I can see what it looks like and sounds like. I think I might have done too much Y shift. And lower this. And I think my graph also needs to be faster on the zoom out. So we're gonna do that. So zoom into 8.25, zoom out 0.4. This, we're gonna zoom in, tighten the graph a bit, zoom out with the graph. See how that looks. Okay, I'll increase this again. Okay. Now we go to the second clip here. If the warp's too much, you just lower it. Really simple. This one is coming in from this direction. So we're gonna lower it to about -10. Do a high value of the shift Y. Like this. Make this go to 0.2. See how this looks like without graphing it first. Yeah, I've added too much warp frequency here, and that's interfering. So graph that. Go to the next one. This one's simple, it doesn't have like a rotation or anything. Actually, it does. It has one little rotation. Can probably do like 5. And then again, Y shift. Y shift is just really important for most position shakes. Smooth fade. Smooth fade. Okay, I'm gonna increase it because it doesn't look like it's like bouncing. That's better. Right, now we're gonna need a little rotation and then again a Y shift. So eventually it just gets quite repetitive of what you want to add. -2. Smooth fade. Right. Gonna redo my zoom in and out. Like this. Gonna tighten the graph just a bit. Then use the outward graph. And then we're gonna make the position shake so it's a Y shift. Maybe even a small X shift from this direction. And then small rotation. Or is it a small rotation? No, it's more. Okay. Like this. All of it is a smooth fade. I might lower this X shift position shake just a bit because that's way too much. Right, another thing we're going to add is the zoom outs with warp, like a pinch, so I'd use dissolve pedal from Ron's tutorial, so amplitude, use the same graph. Like that, maybe. And then these are the only two zoom outs I have, so I only need to use it on these two clips. Only use it on zoom outs. His style matters a lot with warp, so another thing we're going to add is fisheye. Warp fisheye. So we're going to add these on the zoom outs on the beginning of the clip. So like this. 0. Don't want on that one, I want on this one. Not on that one, not on that one. So just those two clips. So I'm going to graph it now. Okay. Oh, look at that warp. Okay, and then he just adds like blur transitions, so let's do that. Lens blur. BCC OBS lens blur. Always use this blur, by the way. Don't all the others don't really look that good. There we go. Now you want the gamma to be quite high, but then the value to be quite low. So like 9, that's a good number. So I'm just going to add the values before graphing them on the clip first. Like this. I'm only doing it at the beginning. You can do it like at the end as well. That's completely your choice. It's just easier, so then I can just graph it really quickly. There we go. So now I'm going to graph it really quickly. There we go. But then another thing you're going to need is your blur for when you zoom in, and so you don't show as much motion tile, so you want this kind of blur. So you go to blur motion. Probably should have done this earlier, but it's fine. I usually only use it on zoom ins, so you don't use a lot, you use 2 Z distance, save a preset where it's 1, zoom out to about 0.5, use your 6 feet graph, then animate it, zoom in, move it back to where your blur curves is, here, so you can follow where you've done your keyframes. Zoom it into 1, nothing more, because if you zoom it in to like 0.8, it looks really bad. So zoom it into 1, then go back and go to 1.5, then add your graphs, but you want to add this tighter this time because it's like, it's blurry. So that's okay. I might add the blur motion on top of the dissolve. Nah, but underneath the dissolve puzzle. But I'm gonna drag the lens blur behind the blur curves. Yeah, that looks better. And then we're gonna graph the last zoom out at the end real quick. And then we're gonna go to this zoom in. We have to do this one as well, so 0.5. Move the lens blur black behind the blur curves. And then move the blur motion in front of the blur curves. There we go. So we want to end it here. Again, tighten the graph. Like this. Then the last one is at the end here. Just again, real quick. There we go. So 1.5 on each end, and then in the middle, well, after the middle, 1. You can also do it while you're zooming into Anya down here. You have to move your focus point to Anya. Drag it back to the blur curves. So you can line the transition up perfectly. So around, yeah, it was around there. But I don't want it to start that much, like that soon. It's too much. So like this. To 0.5. You never really zoom in like that much because otherwise you just have a bunch of really trippy blur and it looks weird. Okay, now with that we're gonna like pre-render it. It looks a bit different because, you know, it doesn't have the overlays and stuff, but I think the fake zoom on this clip could be a bit more clearer, so I'm going to tighten the fake zoom graph. So if I go here, this fake zoom, I'm going to drag it one more keyframe forward. Go to the blur curves, drag it one more. Nah, we'll keep it like this. Just tighten the graph like this. Yeah, that's better. And yeah, that's how I would personally do 6 feet style. And then you'd all add your CC and your black bars and stuff, as well as RSMB. And this is your final result. I decided to just not do the entire edit because this has gone on long enough and it would have taken a while, so yeah, bye bye.